Alrighty, everybody, it is currently Thursday, July 10th, 2025, and I'm coming at you live from the stomach of a 50-ton frog demon. And I just want to start off this episode with something unusual. This isn't, angry or pissed off. This is the opposite of that. This is an apology. I'll just come out and say it. This is an apology to the state of Israel, the nation of Israel, as well as the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. You know what I mean? I have not I have not been kind to them or to their people. You know, with me when it rains it pours. If I'm just going all out. I'm exploring every avenue. You know what I mean? If I see one person from a specific race or ethnic group doing something, I immediately judge them all. And I think that makes me actually not racist at all because I do it for white people, black people, brown people, whatever skin color you have, whatever weird hair you have going on, whatever whatever extra bone you have in your body, I'm judging everybody on an equal fairness or an equal scale of racism. And I think that makes me not racist, because it's like that saying, a dam that's strong everywhere is strong nowhere. It's all the same. And so, but I would like to apologize to the IDF because I now understand what they are doing and why they're doing it. And people might be thinking, he's getting paid by Israel or the IDF or whatever. I promise you I'm not. I really wish I was. I really wish I was getting some shekels and some schmeckles, but I'm not. I'm not getting any shekels, and I'm certainly not getting any schmeckles. All right, but this is a personal realization that I have had. I have come to this through thought, um, ayahuasca, mushrooms, talking to the gods, talking to Quetzalcoatl, the Mayan sun god. I've talked to all of them, and they have given me enough information for myself to come to this conclusion. The conclusion that I have come to is that the IDF's bombing of Palestinian children is actually morally okay. And here's why. Those children, the vast majority of them will end up in foster care, right? Or foster homes, or they'll end up as orphans, or they'll have abusive homes, or they won't be able to go to college and graduate. So what the IDF is essentially doing here is what we on the left call a post-birth abortion. They are, these children, the reason that abortion is morally okay is because the human that's being killed, right, is not yet conscious. And I would argue that you're not truly conscious until the age of about 4 or 5. And so what the IDF is doing is they're killing these young kids before they have an opportunity to suffer. That's what they're doing here. A lot of these kids, like I said, they'll end up in foster care. And, as we all know, there is nothing worse than foster care. And so I would like to extend an apology. I was wrong. I really don't think I've ever been this wrong about anything before. The IDF is doing what is right. And I really wish, so many people on the left, they despise the IDF, but they support abortion. And I think that those two ideas, they clash a little bit because the IDF, what they're doing here is essentially a post-birth abortion, even up to, people 40 plus, the elderly. They're doing post-birth abortions on those people to prevent them from having to suffer in the future. You know what I mean? Palestine receives a lot of aid, a lot of humanitarian aid, food, water, stuff like that, medicine. And what that means is they're not receiving enough of it, right? There's not enough food or water or medicine in Palestine right now, and so they have to receive aid. And that means that they're suffering. And what Israel is doing is just ending their suffering, right? Or ending any future suffering. And so I think, you know, we as a people need to come together and realize that they're doing the right thing and they're doing the hard thing. Not everyone's going to agree with it. And not everyone agrees with abortion, right? Not everyone agrees with that, agrees with, the outright, moral superiority of it, quite frankly. I know a lot of people, they don't want to come right out and say it, but if you get an abortion, you are a morally superior person to everyone else. It's just the truth of the situation, and the IDF is morally superior to the US. The US does it a little bit, but not nearly as much as we should. We should find any group of people that is suffering, and we should kill every single one of them to prevent any future suffering from happening. Like I'm saying, post-birth abortions. It's It's not the exact same thing, but in spirit, it is the same thing because what they're trying to do is prevent future suffering. These people are suffering. There are people that are starving in Gaza, and you know what the IDF is doing about it? They're actually doing something about it. They're saying, hey, you're suffering right now. I'm going to kill you so that you don't suffer anymore. And I just, it's such a beautiful thing. And I think it's a thing that so many people, so many liberals, so many people in the left really ignore about the IDF is that the IDF is upholding, the core tenets of Planned Parenthood and other, abortion, pro abortion organizations. And so I think, and they're doing it in more than one way, right? Because Planned Parenthood, if you don't know, was founded as, it's not a slur, it was founded as the Negro Project. It was a project to get rid of those guys. And what the IDF is doing is essentially the same thing. And the funny thing about it is the same group of people doing it. It's the Jews that started the Negro Project, and it's the Jews that are running the IDF. They're always right. And okay, no, that was me being just like an ironic little bitch. I don't know. That was just me being a little fucking asshole. And I do acknowledge that's just gonna make people mad. If it's intelligible enough to make people mad, I really think a lot of what I say is as close to nonsense as humanly possible. It really makes very little sense. And I think that's right up there on the list. You know what I mean? I don't think it ranks in the top 3, but it is a tough battle. That's the other thing. It is a tough battle to rank in the top 3 of nonsense, phrases that I've said or nonsense stories or nonsense like comparisons that I've drawn. It's a tough battle, dude. This isn't like the art ranking. This is something where they're really gonna have to fight it out. You know what I mean? It's like comparison in the UFC, right? Like the UFC, some divisions are way easier to become a champion in, right? Like the welterweight division. Bilal Muhammad was the welterweight champion of the world. That guy doesn't deserve to be the champion of his own fucking household, all right? But he became the welterweight champion of the world. But then you have things like featherweight and lightweight, right? Where those are really historically and even now very tough divisions to fight in. So this is the lightweight or maybe the featherweight. You know what I mean? Featherweight's had some killers. People forget that, but I do think my power ranking of nonsense things that I've said, I do think that is a featherweight or a lightweight type of division where it's not easy to become the champ in that division. If you become the champ in that division, you really fucking earned it. You know what I mean? You fought through hell. You dragged your nutsack through a fucking football field of barbed wire, and you became a champion. So, yeah. That was just some pure nonsense I had coming up, and that was really my only idea because I don't have anything to complain about today. All I did today was work. Traffic was fine. My car was fine. It was all just fine, which it is worse than it being bad because at least when it's bad, you can it really gets you going. It really gets your emotions going. It heightens your senses overall. You know what I mean? A lot of people they drink a cup of coffee. Jesus Christ, I think I might need a cup of coffee. They drink a cup of coffee in the morning, and that's really what gets them going. Not me, dude. I look at the fucking traffic forecast and I just start seething. And that's really what motivates me in the morning. That's really it gets my energy going. It gets me up, it gets me going, it gets me hard, it gets me very hard. And so yeah, that's usually how I start my mornings. I open up usually Instagram Reels because my TikTok algorithm is a little more chill. It's kind of just UFC and puppies, but my my Instagram Reels algorithm that is that is going to get me at least questioned by the FBI or maybe just put on a little bit of a watch list, you know what I mean? Not like a full-on no-fly list. Don't let this guy near, a synagogue or whatever, but it's gonna put me they're gonna be checking on me every now and then. You know what I mean? They're gonna be maybe not every day, but at least once a week. That's what my Instagram algorithm is looking like, dude. It's looking like the FBI's like, we might got one, dude. We might got a guy that we can really radicalize, get him to go shoot up a school or something. But yeah, I'll usually look at my Instagram Reels algorithm and be like, the Jews, what is the Jews got kicked out of Spain? God damn it! Of course they did, and it just gets me so angry. And I start the morning. I said, Spain should never have any Jews in it, and I just get up and I'm ready to go, dude. And I think like I said, it wakes my mind and my body up, and I think it also just it makes me not need to exercise, dude. Just something about it. The testosterone and adrenaline pump through my veins so hard that it just my muscles cannot shrink at that point, dude. It's just me being so angry. Something about that mind body connection. I think my mind or my body thinks that we're getting ready for war, and we're not, dude. I'll never, I'll never fight in a fucking war. No way. I don't. I don't care if my family's life is at stake, dude. Fight for yourself, or just become an illegal immigrant somewhere, dude. Go to fucking Europe. They're not kicking anyone out. That would be my recommendation to my family. You know what I mean? If there was a war going on in the in the United States, I'd say get that burqa on, grow out that beard a little bit, start talking like start talking like that, and go to the UK, and they'll fucking pay for everything for you. That would be, that's what I would tell my family to do. They'd be like, the troops are marching on us. I'd say, get that burqa on. You know how to sew, all right? I know you know how to sew. Sew yourself a burqa real quick and take a flight over to London, and they'll let you ride in. No passport, nothing required. Nothing required. They'll open up the gates, and you'll get a nice little apartment. You'll get a nice little apartment in a couple grand a month. Um, until they find out you're white, and then they're gonna be like, "You get your ass out of here." But yeah, that would be my recommendation. My family, or really anyone else. A lot of people in America are struggling. Especially young people, and they kind of are just like, I don't like my life. So that would be my recommendation to you. Slap that burqa on, head over to London or Paris. I mean, there's a few choices there. The Netherlands, they're also not kicking anyone out. Germany, Berlin, Brussels. I mean, you got options, dude. Don't go to Poland. they'll they'll do they'll be aggressive. They'll line you up against a wall and hit you with a few rounds to the face and chest and body. But other than that, and you don't want to go to Poland anyway, dude. You don't want to be eating horse hoof jelly or whatever the fuck they eat over there, dude. All they eat is like weird animal parts in jello, dude. I feel like Poland's food is like the Chinese is like the Chinese food of Europe, dude. And I'm not talking about orange chicken, lo mein, chop suey like American Chinese food. I'm talking about real Chinese food. I'm talking about fucking toenail of newt, eye of bat, whatever the fuck they're munching on over there. Poland, they got some fucked up food, and I think that's one of their main deterrents in keeping immigrants away. Obviously, the government policy, if you don't know, in Poland, they're not letting anyone in, dude. They are letting people in, but they're not letting a very specific group of people in, or a few groups. It's everyone that doesn't have blue eyes. I would say those are the groups that Poland isn't letting in. But I do think their food is a deterrent as well. Because Islam, dude, Islam is kind of like their food restrictions are like autistic people food restrictions. You know what I mean? It's like you don't eat pork, you don't eat fucking shrimp or whatever the fuck Muslim people aren't eating. You don't eat gummy bears, dude. You don't. And I think that's all of Poland's food. All of Poland's food is just like different parts from different animals, not even put in a sausage, just thrown into like a clear jello casing. That's what they eat over in Poland. It's I mean, it's World War II rations. And I know Poland has historically been fucked over, and maybe that's why the food is so bad, because they've just been used to eating shit metaphorically and literally for just generations and generations. So they're like, they're hyped when they see those horse eyeballs in that fucking Jello cube. They're like, let's fucking go, dude. We're eating good tonight. That's what eating good in fucking Poland is. It's like, dude, we got we got some fucking we got some pig hair in a piece of Jello. God damn it, dude, my life is, and it's not, we're not talking lime Jello. We're not talking about Bill Cosby, nice red Jello. They're eating just pure, just plain fucking gelatin. It's not Jello, it's gelatin that they're munching on over there. But, you know, I guess it's working for, and that's the thing about Poland. Poland talking about how they're gonna like keep out immigrants is like me talking about how I'm gonna keep out Margot Robbie. It's like no one. Look, I get that Poland's better than like the vast majority of like African and Middle Eastern countries in India. I get that it's better than those places, but those guys got options. They got options. London's over there. Same with Ireland. Same with France. Same with Germany. All those countries, they're over there giving those people just about everything. They're like, I don't know why they're doing it. Some people have some ideas as to why they're doing it, but Yeah, they're not going to Poland, dude. Why would you go to Poland when you can go? And that kind of just shows how shitty Poland is that people are choosing to go to the UK over Poland. I don't think I think Poland that was a bit of a preemptive strike they did, talking about not letting any immigrants in. It was like they weren't going there anyway. I wouldn't be going there. I would I don't know. I don't think it's that bad, but just those people, dude, they're worse. It's more British than Britain in Poland, you know what I mean? And I'm talking about a very specific kind of British people. I'm talking about the chavs here. I'm talking about the Bonnie Blues, the fucking Tommy Furies of the world. Those dudes with those like fake ass clip-on teeth and those disgusting haircuts and those tracksuits that they all wear. Imagine that times 10. Imagine the cast of Love Island times 10, and you got a little bit of Poland there, but you also got to take away the plastic surgery because Poland, I don't know if they have a hospital. I don't know if they have doctors in Poland. Poland might just be using military field medics for like all their doctors. It's just you go in with a fucking broken leg in Poland, they just hit you up with some morphine, scream in your face real quick, and throw you right back out on the street. That's what that's what they're doing in Poland. And honestly, the ironic thing about that is the best healthcare system in Europe. Everywhere else in Europe, it's either you wait 9 months and by the time the 9 months is over, you're dead or your leg needs to be chopped off, or they tell you to kill yourself. Those that's that seems to be the current state of universal healthcare, not only in Europe but across the world. It seems like everywhere except for like China. China seems to have that shit figured out a little bit, and that's probably because they just don't give a shit about like half their population. Like if you don't live in like Shanghai or Beijing or like Guangzhou or whatever random city they have that has 30 million people, if you live outside of the cities in China, it's it's not a good one. But if you do live in the cities there, I feel like they're taking decent care of the people there. And and another funny thing about that is China has people to kill. They like in the UK and like Canada and Switzerland and shit like that. They're recommending like they call it medical suicide or assisted suicide. You're just killing people because you don't want to deal with them. And I get it, dude. I would fucking do the same thing. I'd be like, dude, stop coming to me talking about your fucking multiple sclerosis or your cerebral palsy or whatever. I'll just fucking kill you. I do sympathize with them a little bit. But those countries, they don't really have enough people to, be doing that. China does. China does have they have quite a few people. We're talking a Billy over there, you know what I mean? It's Eilish over there because we're talking about a Billy over in China. They got more than enough people to throw in those suicide pods that they have in Canada, did. But China, they're not doing that. They're actually taking decent care of their people in between, welding their doors shut and putting them in forced labor camps. China actually takes decent care of its people. But I still wouldn't want to move to China. And I think my biggest problem with moving to China would be work. And what I mean by that is I don't think it would be hard for me to find work, but I think if I found a job in China, it would be hard for me to figure out who my boss is. It would be in America, it's already pretty hard, dude. I worked at Lowe's for a summer, never figured out who my boss was. I never, I knew who the manager of the store was, but that guy wasn't my there was supposed to be another guy who my boss was. Never found him. I don't know, and I think that task would become infinitely harder in China, just because people over there are a little bit harder to tell apart, and I don't think that's as racist as people think it is because China is kind of a mono-ethnic country, obviously not entirely, and they obviously are trying to make it that way by putting those Uyghurs in those by putting the Uyghurs in Mystic summer camp. But they're trying to it's difficult. They're all like Han Chinese over there. At least in America, we're all for the most part, people are like half breeds. It's like this guy's Irish and British, and so everyone kind of looks a little bit unique. Not in China though; they're all the exact same ethnicity. But and that's a thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is the is the fucking is all like that flooding over in Texas, and it's not like Florida, dude, because Florida, I guarantee you, every at least 4 times a year, Florida gets worse floods than they're getting over in Texas right now. But they're just prepared for it, dude. Those people in Florida, Texas thinks they're all so tough, dude. But those people in Florida, they're not just insane, but they're also pretty fucking tough, dude. Like those guys are sitting in a fucking corrugated steel shed riding out a category 4 hurricane, and then Texas gets hit with a little bit of rain and like 800 kids die. Like 1,000 kids. It's a massacre over there in Texas because it rains a little bit, dude. And I think that's, look, obviously I don't support children dying. I don't think that's a good thing, but I do like it that Texas is getting, knocked down a couple pegs. You know what I mean? It's no more. You're not hearing anyone talking about how tough people in Texas are. It's Texas. We're built different out here. You're not hearing that right now. You're not hearing that out of their mouths. And I was getting a little bit sick and tired of it, dude, because you're not tough, dude. You're not tough because you live in Texas. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. There's really nothing that special about Texas. Like, if Texas was the size of fucking Texas, the only reason it has as many people as it does is because it's fucking gigantic, right? That's the only reason it has as many people as it does. And they're not, none of them are cowboys anymore. There's no cowboys left. It's all cattle. All cattle farming has been moved to giant warehouses. Right? Like, a cowboy out in Texas is a dude who fucking clocks into his shift at the warehouse and just hears cows being slaughtered all day. That's that's what cowboys are doing out in Texas right now. It's Texas is holding on to the past a little bit with that one, and I've kind of had enough of it. We should Texas, and they're always like, we used to be our own country. It's like, okay, then be your own country again, dude. I'm kind of getting sick and tired of them just talking about how fucking we're in Texas, we're tough, we don't play that shit down here. It kind of seems like you do play that shit in Texas, dude, because there's more illegal immigrants in Texas. Maybe California is number one, but Texas is a close number two. And so it kind of does. It seems like you play that shit. It kind of seems, kind of seems like you're not the people that you say you are, dude. You're not them. And I think that these children, being drowned to death in floods is gonna make them realize that. And it's just, a lot of people doing this tough talk in Texas, they live in like Austin or Houston or Dallas or whatever. Like, they're all the most generic city on earth, right? They have a lot of people living in them, but they're all just so fucking generic, right? Like, there's nothing unique culturally about Dallas, or maybe a little bit about Houston. They do have like that rap genre going on, but if you fucking, transplanted the cities of Dallas into fucking just North Dakota or whatever, it would be the exact same, right? It's not like Los Angeles. Like, Los Angeles, their identity is kind of tied to that land, but not really in Texas. Texas, their identity isn't, in the big cities at least, their identity is not tied to that land. Like, out in California, it's fucking palm trees and it's surfing and it's fucking, whatever. But in Texas, in those big cities out there, it's like traffic. That's the cultural identity of big cities in Texas. It's like traffic and everyone is morbidly obese. That is their that is their fucking cultural identity. And the thing about that is that's the cultural identity of the entire United States. The entire United States is just traffic and people that weigh 800 pounds, people that weigh weights that no one thought was possible. That's the cultural identity of most major cities throughout the United States. And so that's kind of what I mean when I'm getting sick and tired of the Texas people. It's like, you're no different than everyone else, dude. You're no, it's all the same, dude. You're all just fat people sitting in traffic for fucking 18 hours a day. That's what Texas is, and that's what the rest of America is as well. And Austin, people from Austin especially having that whole, we're from Texas. No, you're not from Texas, all right? You're from fucking Austin, right? You're from Austin, you're not from Texas. It's like, you're just not, you're not a Texan, dude. You live in Austin. And Austin is just Portland in a slightly warmer, more cheery place. That's all Austin is. I've been to Austin before, but I've never been to Portland before, and I just assume that they're basically the exact same, but just with different temperatures. That's the difference between Austin and Portland. And yeah, I guess they're maybe like slightly more conservative, but that's not really a tough thing to be when you're being compared to Portland, dude. Right? It's not. Literally everywhere else is conservative. Seattle, Los Angeles is conservative. Los Angeles is fucking like Nazi-ish compared to Portland. Like, that's how insanely liberal Portland is. I don't think Austin is that liberal, but they're fucking close, right? It's like when people are like, it's a purple city or it's a blue city in a red state. And it's like, okay, but yeah, a city is like powerful enough, right? Like if the entire state of New York voted red and then New York City was the only one that voted blue, the red would not have an effect on New York City, right? The conservatives out in New York State would not have an effect on New York City because a city that large, a city the size of New York City or Austin, which is significantly smaller than New York City, but still, they kind of are able to curate laws in an identity of their own. And so I think people from Austin being like, I'm from Texas, it's like, no, you're not, dude. You're not from Texas, right? Sorry for that little burp there, but anyway, it's kind of like that guy Mamdani. Mamdani pretending he's from like a third world country. It's like, yeah, dude, you were born in Uganda, but then you fucking moved to New York City when you were like 2 years old, right? Like that's like me being like, yeah, I'm from Kansas City. No, I'm not. I'm from the suburbs slash country. Yeah, I was born in Kansas City, but I'm not fucking, I'm not from there, you know. And that's another. I want to talk about Mamdani a little bit because I have seen The Last King of Scotland. And if you don't know, The Last King of Scotland is kind of like this. It's so basically, if you don't know, the story of that movie is this guy, this doctor goes to Uganda to become like a nonprofit doctor, like one of those fucking people, those bitch ass lib white people that's like, I need to go discover myself. And then they go fucking, live in Uganda or Ghana or whatever for a few years. And he went to live there and he made friends with the president slash dictator of Uganda. And kind of an important storyline in the movie is that at one point, and I do got to give the guy a little bit of credit. I've been praising the dictators a little bit lately, especially during the South Sudan episode, but I do got to give him a little bit of credit. He kicked out all the Indians. that's why that's why Mamdani ended up in America, dude. That's why he's trying to become the fucking socialist mayor of New York City is because of crazy African dictator was like, I've had enough of you guys. And that's how you know it's bad. That's how you know Indians in the culture and just everything they do is just awful, right? Because Uganda didn't want them. Uganda, if I mean, I just say the word Uganda and everyone's like, ooh, like people cringe when you just say the name of that country. That's how shitty it is. And they were still like, nah, we don't want you guys here. And that's how I assume that's how Mamdani ended up in America. I'm not 100% sure, but at one point the dictator of Uganda kicked out all the Indians, and we got to give him a little bit of credit for that one, all right? Because he said, "Look, my country may be full of poor people that don't have homes or food or anything, but it's not going to be full of human shit in the street." It's not going to be full of fucking cows in plastic bags and human shit. And I do got to give whatever the fuck the guy's name, it's probably like Mamdana Akabakadaku or whatever the fucking that dictator of Uganda's name was. Do got to give him a little bit of credit there for kicking out all the Indians. Um, but I am a little bit pissed at him because now we got Mamdani and we just got to deal with him, dude. And like I said before, my least favorite thing about him, and I don't really give a shit about New York City. It's just very annoying having to hear about that all the time. Is he's just a millennial. He's just like every other fucking. He acts like he's different, dude. Like there's that video of him like eating with his hands, which by the way is disgusting. I'll get to that in a second. But there's that video of him eating with his hands. But it's just like dude, you're just like every other fucking millennial. You're not really you say you're a socialist, but you don't really know what that word means. You fucking you have like a gay little haircut. You don't have any testosterone. It's insane. Millennials have zero testosterone across the board. It's it must have been done on purpose, dude. Because Gen Z's got a little bit of that test, and maybe it's just because they're a little bit younger. But I mean, they have none. And Mamdani has that look. He has that millennial look to him of like the perfectly trimmed beard and that haircut that he has, like the side part haircut that kind of has like gel in it. And it's just I hate it. I don't even live in New York City, and I hate the guy. But back to talking about how disgusting eating with your hands is. People are like, "Oh well, I wash my hands before I eat with them," and it's like, dude, I don't know if you know what a dishwasher is or what it does, but I guarantee you're not getting your hands as clean as a fork gets in the dishwasher. Because when you open the dishwasher after that shit's freshly fucking done, you open that bitch up, it's steaming, dude. It's a fucking Russian sauna in there, dude. The forks are wearing robes and they're pouring a little bit of water over some coals. It's a full-on sauna in there. You know, it gets and the detergent you use when you're cleaning dishes it's more abrasive and it's like it just gets shit cleaner. You can't be using that on your hands. So unless every time you wash your hands you're doing it with steaming hot water and dish detergent, I don't want to hear about how eating with your hands is just as clean as eating with utensils because it's not, right? It literally cannot be. It's just a fucking annoying thing that you just and once again, it goes back to the millennials, dude. No Indians coming up to me fucking shoving that shit down my throat, but like these culturally tolerant millennials. I almost said liberals there, but I guess libs too. But these culturally tolerant fucking millennials being like, oh, it's actually just as. No, it's not. It's not fucking just as clean. And I'm sick and tired of hearing that it is, right? Especially if you fucking work all day. Like anyone that's done manual labor, especially outside, you know, your hands are covered in fucking chemicals and dirt and all that shit. You can't get that shit off if you scrub it for fucking 30 minutes straight. It's still on there. You can still smell your hands and smell the fucking, fertilizer, whatever the fuck was on your hands from when you were working outside. There's still like dirt. The dirt gets fully underneath your fingernails when you work outside, dude. Your entire it goes back to the back of your fucking somehow it gets your fucking hands dirty to, or it gets your fingers dirty too. Like that's how far the dirt goes back in your fingernails. So I'm kind of sick and tired about how eating with your hands is just as clean. No, it's not. I'm still gonna do it, dude, because right? I'm still gonna eat the burger with my hands. You're not gonna catch me eating a burger with a fork and knife, and that's because I'm heterosexual. But it's not as clean, and I'm not gonna pretend like it is. It's disgusting pig shit, and it's not. You don't do it because you think it's cleaner. You do it because you're too poor to afford utensils, right? Like if the country of fucking India, if the people who live there could afford utensils, then they wouldn't be eating with their hands. I'm sorry, it's just like I can't imagine a fucking dude in a suit being like, "All right, I'm about to enjoy some fucking, whatever they eat over there." I mean, let's be honest here. It's curry. It's some fucking rich Indian dude in a suit being like, "All right, let's get ready to have some curry going." And he just fucking turns his hand into an excavator shovel and just starts munching on that shit. I can't imagine that's true. I imagine that they do it because they're too poor to use to afford utensils and they just pretend like it's cultural. And I don't know. There's just like a trend of like of people doing that, right? Where it's just like, no, it's cultural. You don't understand. It's cultural. And it's like, no, no, it's not. I think it started as a necessity because your country was extremely poor. And then you're just pretending it's cultural because you're too ashamed to admit the fact that your country's just too poor to afford forks and spoons, right? You're just too poor. You're just too poor to be able to afford it. And so I don't know. I think it's just very gross eating with your hands. And I think the people that pretend that it's not are lying to themselves or have never washed dishes before. If you literally, or even by hand when you wash dishes, you still use steaming hot water and you still use soap, right? You use boiling hot water and you use a scrub brush. Unless you're doing that to your hands, it's not just as clean as eating with utensils, right? It's not. It literally physically you're describing something that's impossible. That's that's what you're doing when you say it's just as clean to eat with your hands as it is with fucking a fork and a spoon. So I don't know. I'm just sick and tired of that shit, dude. I'm getting sick and tired of these fucking people. Right? Like back to the South, dude. Like Southerners being like, "Oh, we're country folk. We love an honest day's hard work." No, you don't. No one loves an honest day's hard work. You guys just aren't as educated, and you can't get office jobs, dude. No one likes. It's nice, like every once in a while, to do some manual labor. You know what I mean? Like as a human being, it's nice to do that. It's nice to flex your muscles. It feels good to do that. It feels satisfying to do that. But doing that every day for fucking, 60 years or 50 years or whatever, no one likes doing that. No one enjoys doing that, right? Like that's why people form unions. People form unions to ensure the fact that they're going to get paid a lot of money and that they're going to be able to stop fucking doing manual labor all day, right? Like if it was true, if the fact was true that people enjoy manual labor, then unions wouldn't exist, right? Because they'd just be like, yeah, I don't care how much I'm getting paid because I enjoy manual labor. You never hear about fucking, you never hear about like H&R Block or whatever forming a union. And that's because that work is easy. It's more enjoyable. It's more enjoyable to just sit in a fucking air conditioned office all day and pretend to work. It's more enjoyable to do that than it is to go outside and fucking dig ditches with a shovel all day. It just is. And that's why they don't form unions there. Because they're like, yeah, I don't really give a shit how much money I'm getting paid because my work isn't hard at all. So yeah, fuck the South, fuck Indians, fuck them all, dude. I don't want to hear about how you enjoy manual labor. No one does, right? That's why countries develop. That's why they do that. That's why you become a first world country so that the people there stop having to do manual labor. Because no one enjoys it, right? You go to the fucking Congo and you talk to the 8-year-old that's mining the lithium ion for your iPhone, and you're like, "Yeah, I bet you love an honest day's work, don't you?" He's like, "No, no, I don't care how much I'm getting paid. I don't enjoy doing this. This isn't fun at all." Right? Like you could be getting paid. I'd Look, I don't know, maybe I'm just a pussy fucking bitch, but I'd rather get paid fucking 60,000 years at or $60,000 a year to sit in an air conditioned office all day than get paid $80,000 a year to fucking dig ditches for a living. I just would. Right? And I don't think that's unreasonable. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe there's some people out there that really do enjoy fucking having the skin peel off their hands while they slam a wooden shovel into the ground so that they can dig water lines or whatever the fuck. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Not wrong often. Not really never have been before. I'm trying to recall an incident right now. Never happened before. The reason I'm talking about manual labor and why I hate it so much is because I did manual labor today. Did about 8.5 hours today. Nothing too much, nothing too crazy. But it sucks, dude. It's somehow your back hurts. It doesn't matter what you're doing, dude. You could be standing with perfect posture for the entire day, but if you're doing manual labor, somehow your lower back is tight as shit, and it hurts to do literally everything. It hurts to sit down. It hurts to fucking walk. Right? Even if you're doing it perfectly, dude. Even if you have like a weight belt on or like whatever the fuck they use to correct their posture while they're working. Some people do that, or a back brace. I guess that's what I called it, a weight belt. It's called the back brace. Just goes to show how little I know about manual labor. But what I do know about it is every time I do it, I'm like, this is why I'm going to college, dude. This is why I can't keep doing this, dude. I can't be doing it. I just want to sit in a fucking office all day, sit in an air conditioned office. Ideally, I just want to sit in my home and go to a Zoom meeting for 30 minutes every day. But I'll take an office, dude. I'll take a nice air conditioned office, just sitting in there while the world around me burns as the freon from the air conditioner leaks into the air and destroys the ozone and destroys anyone's ability to actually breathe that air. That's what I want, dude. I want to sit in an air conditioned office and stare at an Excel spreadsheet that I've been filling out for the past fucking 4 months while the world around me burns. That's what I want. That's truly what I want. And I feel like that's what most people want too. Once again, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's the ideal life, dude. That's the American dream. That's the only thing left. I don't want a house. I don't want a family. I just want to be able to sit in a slightly cool place while the world around me burns and while people rot to death in the street from doing fentanyl and xylazine. That's what I want, dude. That's what my soul wants. That's what my spirit calls for. My spirit isn't fucking calling me to a fucking concrete crew so that I can sit outside in the hot sun on my hands and knees while I fucking spread concrete for a driveway. My spirit doesn't call me to do that. My spirit says, hey, go into that office, kind of flirt with the secretary not every now and then, but don't do it so much that you have to end up having a meeting with HR. Go sit in your fucking disgusting cubicle that's surrounded by Funko Pops and stare at a spreadsheet that you're never going to fill out, that you're never going to complete, that you're never going to do any calculations with, dude. That is what my spirit calls me to do, dude. That's what it is. I think everyone has it fucked up, dude. Everyone else is like, we need to return back to nature. We need to return to our ancestors' lifestyle of hunting and gathering. No, dude. No, we don't need to be doing that. We need to return back to the 1980s when everyone could just have an office job and sit in the air conditioning all day while we have illegal immigrants who are essentially slaves do all the manual labor for us, dude. That's what we need. We need a return to fucking we need a return to Reagan. That's That's what I want, dude. I don't want to fucking sit outside in the hot sun and spread asphalt over a road while some 400-pound lady in her fucking minivan with her frappuccino stares at me because I'm not flipping the stop slow sign quick enough. That's that's not what I want to be doing. I just want to sit in a peeling office chair, in a peeling pleather office chair with my back sweating up a storm and my ass crack also sweating up the exact same storm while my hairline slowly recedes and my life flies away from me and everything around me crumbles into dust. That's what I want, dude. That's what I desire. I don't desire the heat on my back, my fucking balls chafing and sticking to my legs. Not what I want, dude. I want the only sweat coming from my body to be from my ass crack and my back while I sit on my fucking shitty pleather chair that's 20 years old and I complain about the copier. That's what I want. But I do also enjoy a nice ice cold glass of water. Jesus Christ, I really can't talk. I spoke 4 words today while I was working, and somehow still my brain is like just too tired to talk, dude. Even my jaw is tired, and that's not from the 18 dicks I sucked last night, all right? My jaw's tired from clenching all day while I scrubbed the fucking wooden fence with a brush. But look, that's just the current events in my life. Let's talk about some other current events that are going on. Our first article of the day is from CNN Politics. I'm sure these people are unbiased, dude. I'm sure Devin Cole and John Fritz from CNN are unbiased. We got a nice 7-minute read here from today, and the title of this article is Federal Judge Issues Nationwide Block Against Trump's Order Seeking to End Birthright Citizenship. So I guess Trump was like, yeah, I'm not listening to that. I'm not. And this is the thing about Trump, dude. People like the liberals on the left, obviously. Obviously, that's where the liberals are. There's no liberals on the right because that's not what the right is. But the fucking libs, they choose to focus on the entirely wrong things when it comes to Trump, dude. They're like, Trump is deporting the illegal immigrants and that makes him a fascist. Can you believe it? Trump is deporting the illegal immigrants. And it's like, dude, every president ever has done that. That doesn't make him a fascist. But then you hear about something like this and you're like, maybe you guys are idiots and maybe you guys are right for the wrong reasons, but maybe he is a fascist because that is fucking insane. Let's read a little bit more about this. So, a federal judge agreed Thursday to issue a new nationwide block against President Trump's executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship. The ruling from the U.S. District Joseph LaPlante is significant because the Supreme Court last month curbed the power of lower court judges to issue nationwide injunctions. I guess the Supreme Court was like, hey, we're the big swinging dick in town. All right, we got Clarence Thomas on this team. Shut the fuck up. We got a black guy that didn't wear shoes until he was 34 years old. We fucking run this country. So I guess that's what the Supreme Court said to all the fucking bitch ass other people. While keeping intact the ability of plaintiffs to seek a widespread block of the order through class action lawsuits, which is what happened Thursday in New Hampshire. Ruling from the bench, LaPlante granted a request from immigration rights attorneys, okay, to certify a nationwide class that will be comprised only of those deprived of citizenship and issued a preliminary injunction indefinitely blocking Trump's day one order from being enforced against any baby born after February 20th. So I guess Trump immediately got in office and he decided to change everything, and it just pisses me off so much, dude. It pisses me off that these people, they're like, oh, no king's protest. Donald Trump is a king. He's going to have a military. They chose to focus on a military parade and the fact that he was deporting illegal immigrants instead of on this, dude. And that's just what pisses me off so much about it. It's like, dude, you have a thing right in front of you, dude. It's like looking at a buffet, right? And the buffet has dog shit and human shit and cow shit and fucking a cake at the end of it, right? And people are like, "Can you believe? Look at this buffet. Look, oh, they expect me to eat dog shit at this buffet. They expect me. There's a cake at the end of at the end of the buffet that you're actively ignoring to choose to focus on the dog shit, dude. I don't care that Trump is fucking deporting illegal immigrants. That's the entire point of deportation is to deport illegal immigrants. That's the entire point of it, right? That's the entire point of immigration law. Or it's not the entire point of it. But like that's a major part of it, is that there are people that do not follow the immigration laws, and those people are criminals, and they should be treated as such, right? And they're choosing to focus on that. They're choosing to focus on the fact that Trump is enforcing the laws that literally every other president has enforced, and they're not talking about this, dude. I haven't heard anyone talk about this. The fact that Trump wanted to end birthright citizenship, the entire point of this fucking country, that's what he wanted to end. And it's instead you choose to talk about the fact that a guy who's in MS-13 is wanted for murdering 18 people in El Salvador. That's what you choose to focus on. You choose to focus on the fact that Trump is deporting a literal murderer instead of the fact that he's trying to end birthright citizenship. If you're born in America, you are an American. That's how this country works. It's how it's always worked, and you're choosing to ignore that fact. I don't know. Maybe it's a big psyop from the CIA or the FBI trying to tear the country apart, right? Maybe that's why everyone ignored all that shit. But it's ridiculous to me. It's just ridiculous what the fucking left chooses to focus on. They're like, oh, Trump's not going to allow transgender people to compete in softball at D2 colleges. That's what they're choosing. It's seriously. That's not an exaggeration. That is literally the truth. And I don't know. I just find it fucking ridiculous. But the preliminary injunction is just not a close call to the court. LaPlante said during the hearing, the deprivation of U.S. citizenship is an abrupt change of policy that was long-standing, that's irreparable harm. And I agree with this, dude. The U.S. citizenship, the judge added, is the greatest privilege that exists in the world. Dude, this judge fucking rules hard as fuck, dude. He just walked up to Trump and slapped him in the face with his dick, dude. And he said, America's number one, and you're acting like a little gay bitch right now. And that's what it is. That's what Trump's doing. He's taking it too far. He's being like, no one born in America. I don't care why that person was born in America. That person was fucking, I don't care if that this baby, right, that was born in America, I don't care if that baby's parents came over when the mom was 9 months pregnant and they shit out the baby on a fucking random piece of Texas that's 2 miles from the border. I don't care if that's what happened. That is an American citizen, and you have to treat them like that, right? I'm not saying don't treat the parents like the illegal immigrants, right? I'm not saying completely ignore the fact that they broke the law, but what I'm saying is an American citizen is anyone that's born on U.S. soil. I don't care where the fuck they're from. I don't care. God damn, man. But the judge and appointee of former President George W. Bush said he would pause his order for several days to give the Trump administration time to appeal his decision. Fuck that, dude. LaPlante, you're the big swinging dick in town, dude. Let Trump know what's up. Let these people know what's up. Say no. George Washington came to this country. Jesus foretold in the Bible that George Washington would come to this country with his 8-inch soft dick and say anyone that's born here is a goddamn American. I don't care what Trump says. That's what you should do, LaPlante. Stop with the fucking niceties and let him know what's up. LaPlante wrote that he has no difficulty concluding the rapid adoption by executive order without legislation in the attending national debate of a new government policy of highly questionable constitutionality that would deny citizenship to many thousands of individuals previously granted citizenship under an indisputably long-standing policy constitutes irreparable harm, and that all class representatives could suffer irreparable harm absent an injunction. So yeah, LaPlante, shout out LaPlante. I don't often side with federal judges, right? I'm not a big fan of the federal government. But it's like, yeah, it's insane. LaPlante's ruling could prove to be a critical bulwark against Trump's policy as other courts scramble to take a second look at their decisions in light of the Supreme Court's ruling. Yeah, just fucking ignore that asshole. Just be like, no, dude. No. Let's see what the White House had to say about it, though. The White House called the ruling an obvious and unlawful attempt to circumvent the Supreme Court's clear order against universal relief. Yeah, well, you broke the law first. Right? You fucking defied the Constitution first. And I'm a Constitution guy, dude. I don't care if, whatever it is, if you're defying the Constitution, you're defying the Constitution. Even if, I don't know, I'd say I'm fairly conservative. I'd say I'm fine with illegal immigrants being deported. But it's like, dude, you can't do that. Listen here, Mister. I'm essentially turning into a late night host right now, being like, Mr. President, are you sure you're allowed to do that? You're not allowed to. I'm turning into a snarky lib right now. That's how much of a retard Donald Trump is, dude. He's turning me into a snarky fucking lib, being like, Mr. President, last time I read the Constitution, I'm pretty sure you can't end birthright citizenship. Like that's what he's turning me into. But it's such a ridiculous fucking thing. And I have the same feelings when uh, the Second Amendment is encroached upon. I have the same feelings when the First Amendment is encroached upon. I have the same feelings when any of the amendments are encroached upon. When the Constitution is, ignored, I'd say that's a negative thing for the country because that's the thing that founded the country. I don't care what it is. You cannot ignore the Constitution. The Constitution said what it said. I don't care what your personal opinions are on it, right? I don't care if you have to say, oh, well, the times changed. The times have changed. Yeah, but the Constitution hasn't. I don't care how much the times change. The Constitution is the Constitution. And you can't ignore it. I don't care if you're trying to end birthright citizenship because you hate Latinos, or if you're trying to stop me from getting my goddamn AR-15 that is guaranteed to me by the fucking Second Amendment. I don't care what you're doing. It's the Constitution. You're not allowed to just ignore it because you want to. And I think that'll really get Trump, that'll get him shaking in his boots a little bit. I think I just shivered his timbers a bit by saying that. I think he's going to take a look in the mirror. He's going to listen to that Michael Jackson song, Man in the Mirror, and he's going to say, what have I been doing, dude? This guy with a podcast that no one listens to, he just awakened something in me. What have I been doing? I think I think I'll really change his mind. I think me being like, the Constitution is good and you cannot be bad. I think me saying that is really going to knock some sense into his head. I think it's going to knock so much sense into his head that his toupee is going to be a little bit askew. Hey, I'm going full into the snarky lib thing. Don't be surprised if by next week I'm calling Donald Trump a Cheeto puff, dude. Don't be surprised if that's happening, dude. Because he's forcing me to be a snarky lib, dude. He's forcing me to be Trevor Noah. He's forcing me to be John Oliver, dude. He's forcing me to be Stephen Colbert. The thing I hate most in the world, just an annoying snarky lib who went to a fucking Ivy League college. I hate nothing more in the world, and I'm becoming it, dude. I'm Anakin. I'm Anakin. I'm joining the dark side. But that's the thing about Anakin, dude, is that the Jedi Order was not always right in what they did. And so they kind of a little bit forced him into joining the dark side, and that's what Trump's doing, dude. Fucking John Oliver right now and his big fat British nose is talking to me like Palpatine, dude. You must join us. You must come over to us. Do it. Do it. That's what John Oliver's saying to me right now. All right. And then we got children queuing for supplements killed in Israeli airstrike in Gaza, hospital says. At least 15 Palestinians, including 8 children and 2 women, have been killed in an Israeli airstrike while queuing, which means lining up. I don't know why the British have to be such fucking bitch-ass assholes about it, for nutritional supplements in front of a clinic in central Gaza, a hospital says. Video from Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in Deir al-Bala? Goddamn, dude. If Palestine really wants to get me on their side, start using just simple fucking English names, dude. Start calling it fucking New York City or whatever. Just start calling it American shit, and I will become so much more sympathetic to your cause if I can just read the words. If I can understand what you're saying, then I will become more sympathetic to your cause. Showed the bodies of, so this video outside this hospital in this Deir al-Bala town in fucking Palestine showed the bodies of several children and others lying on the floor as medics treated their wounds. U.S.-based aid group Project Hope, which runs the clinic, said the attack was a blatant violation of international law. The Israeli military said it struck a Hamas terrorist and regretted any harm to civilians. Israel is such an abusive boyfriend. Israel's like, babe, I punched you in the face because I was trying to get my point across. I didn't mean to hurt you, babe. No, please don't leave me. That's fully what Israel is doing. Please, babe, no. I didn't mean it. You're getting a little bit fat, and I was just trying to get that point across to you, babe. Please. I didn't mean to hurt you. That's what fucking Israel is doing right now. So They were among 66 people reportedly killed in Israeli airstrikes on Thursday as Israel and Hamas continued talks on a ceasefire deal. Despite optimism expressed by the U.S., which is acting as a mediator along with Qatar and Egypt, they do not seem so far. Wait, they do not so far seem close to a breakthrough. All right, fucking British people, start talking normal. Just be like, hey, they're not gonna fucking figure it out. Just tell me that shit straight up. So Project Hope said Thursday morning strikes in front of its Altair. I can get that one a little bit close, but that's just because of Assassin's Creed and the Altair character. Um, so I guess they struck this clinic in Deir al-Bala. Happened as patients had gathered outside, awaiting its opening to receive treatment for malnutrition, infections, chronic illness, and more. Suddenly, we heard the sound of a drone approaching, and then the explosion happened. Witness Yusuf Audi at 80 told the AFP news agency, "The ground shook beneath our feet and everything around us turned into blood and deafening screams." Jesus. And this is the thing about Israel. That's true of all war. All war is deafening screams and blood all the time. But it's the deafening screams and blood of enemy soldiers, not the deafening scream and blood of children who are trying to get their fucking ingrown toenail fixed, dude. Right? Normally in a war, when an airstrike happens, it hits a group of enemy soldiers who are trying to attack you. But what Israel's doing, which is a little bit different from that, is they are killing people who are not only not attacking them, but could never hope to in their entire lives. These people that Israel is killing, it's not even a wish or a hope or a slight possibility. There's not a glimmer of light really from any Palestinian, even Hamas, right? Hamas does have a little bit of hope there because they're funded by Lebanon, but truly the average Palestinian citizen, as much as they might want to, as much as they might want to rip Netanyahu's head off, there's no hope of them doing that, right? And that's what makes Israel's war against Hamas in Palestine slightly different from a conventional war, right? Because in conventional war, you're trying to kill the enemy. But what Israel is doing, and this is a little bit interesting, it's as much as I like it or hate it, it's very interesting what they're doing. They're not trying to kill the enemy. They're trying to commit a genocide. And that's a little bit different from regular war. It's just, I don't know if you guys can tell it. I know it's a very nuanced difference between the two, right? Between killing armed combatants who are actively trying to kill you and killing children who are so malnourished that they have to go to a hospital, right? I know it's hard to tell the difference between those two types of people, but there is a difference. And I don't know if Israel realizes that. I don't know if Israel realizes that there's a difference between a guy who is attacking your capital with artillery and a child who cannot walk because they have not been given enough food to create the energy needed in order to walk. I don't think they realize the difference between those two things. I don't think that, as a government and as a military, that they understand the fundamental thing that makes those two things different. I don't know if they realize that yet. I don't think they see it. I just it's And it's hard. I know it can be hard. I know it can be hard to, tell the difference between a man in a military uniform with a gun and a child in a wheelchair. I know those two things look very similar, especially over a drone screen, but they are in fact different. And that's the thing that they have to that they have to realize. I'm becoming a snarky lib, dude. It's a full on snarky lib. But it's there's a difference between those two things. So, back to the article. Graphic footage posted on social media, which was verified by the BBC, showed the immediate aftermath of the attack, with adults and young children lying in a street, some severely wounded and others not moving. And I would venture to guess that those people who are not moving are not doing the mannequin challenge. I would take a shot in the dark here and say they're not moving because they're dead. At the mortuary, of nearby Al. First of all, how has Israel not destroyed every single hospital and school in Palestine, dude? I swear to God, every single day you hear Israel has struck another hospital or Israel has struck another school. Palestine isn't that fucking big. First of all, Israel itself is the size of New Jersey, and Palestinian territory is infinitely smaller than that. So I don't know how the fuck they have not destroyed every single bit of it, dude. I don't understand how it's possible, dude. I don't understand how there is a single building remaining in any Palestinian territory anywhere. Um, so anyway, at the mortuary of nearby Al Aqsa Hospital, relatives of those killed wept as they wrapped the dead children in white shrouds and body bags before performing funeral prayers. One woman told the BBC that her pregnant niece, Manal, and her daughter, Fatima, were among them, and that Mahal's son was in the intensive care unit. Well, look, she's just saying he's in the intensive care unit. I don't know. Maybe he like broke his leg doing skateboarding tricks or something like that. maybe, maybe he was trying to do a Tony Hawk 720 and he broke his ankle, and that's why he's in the intensive care unit, dude. We don't know. We don't know why he's in there. we He might have just busted his knee trying to do a kickflip on a scooter. We don't know why he's in there. It could be anything. So, um, and this lady, the lady of the, or who's the fucking aunt of this lady who got killed and her son is in the intensive care unit, assumably from doing BMX tricks on a bike, said she was queuing to get the children's supplements when the incident happened. Intisir said. Another woman standing nearby said, "For what sin were they killed?" And it's not so much a sin as it is the fact that they were suffering, and so therefore Israel had to kill them. I don't know if you guys know how abortion works, but anyway. Sorry. Now I'm a snarky conservative, dude. I'm swinging back and forth. The pendulum is going back and forth. I go from snarky conservative to snarky lib. And now we're on to our piece of celebrity news for the week before we get back to mass murder. So, Brad Pitt demands to see Angelina Jolie's private messages ahead of court battle. The A-listers are jostling because Jolie sold her stake in a jointly owned French vineyard to a third party in 2021. And Brad Pitt, dude, what are we doing here? Look, I get it, Angelina Jolie, she's still hot as shit. But it's like, dude, you could be fucking like a 20-year-old model right now, and instead you're arguing over a vineyard, dude. What are we doing? You could be fucking some dumb slut who's not even out of high school yet, and or who's not even out of college yet, and who's freshly out of high school, and instead you're arguing over a fucking vineyard. So, Brad Pitt has demanded to see private messages between ex-wife Angelina Jolie and the third party that purchased her stake in a marital winery, according to U.S. Weekly. Pitt and Jolie bought the French vineyard Chateau Miraval when married. 5 years after filing for divorce in 2016, Jolie sold her stake in the business to Alexei Olenek, who works for Stoli Group, which owns several high-end alcohol brands. Pitt opposed the sale of Jolie's share of Miraval and is now demanding to see messages between Olenek and Jolie. Dude, Brad Pitt is just full-on, just ex-girlfriend, like, freaking out. He's like, dude, how does she already have a new boyfriend? How does she already have a new boyfriend? We dated for fucking like 3 years, dude. How does she already have a new boy? How does she move on that quickly? that's fully what Brad Pitt is doing. And another thing that Brad Pitt is doing, and something he did in the past, was abuse his children. And this is just a funny fucking thing. Not the abuse of the children. Although I'm sure his kids are Chinese, so when he was hitting them, they were probably making some pretty funny noise. But that's not the funny thing about this. The funny thing about it is I saw like a post about it on TikTok, and I just opened up the comments for some reason. No, I know the reason why. I'm pretending like I don't. I was just trying to get pissed. That's why I opened up the comments of this TikTok comment section, and it was just a bunch of people being like, "Oh, another white man getting away with stuff. Another white man getting away with abusing his family and being a piece of shit because we live in a racist, patriarchal society." And I hate to break your guys' heart here. I know the white man is the enemy, and us white men, we do have our own enemy, and they're called the Jews, but and also the blacks and the illegal immigrants and really everyone else. But I know the white man is the bad guy. And I get it, dude. It's so fun to hate white people. Even I do it a bit here and there, especially when I get up in the suburbs. I'm really like, white people fucking ruin everything. I do understand the hate for white men, but this is not an example of that. And I'll tell you why it's not an example of that. Because there's a man who recently passed away, rest in peace, and he went by the name Orenthal James Simpson. He was a running back for the Bills, Heisman winner, rushed for 2,000 yards in a 14-game season, and he murdered his wife and a waiter. He did that. He killed both of them, sawed their heads off in plain daylight, got arrested by the cops, covered in their blood. He did that, and yet didn't ever go to jail. He did not ever, he never saw the inside of a jail or prison cell. And the reason he never did is because he's incredibly rich, incredibly famous, and incredibly powerful, right? Uh, and there's another thing that O.J. Simpson is, and that is black. Or was. Sorry, apologies. Rest in peace, King. He was black. Maybe he is still black. I don't know how long it takes for your body to fucking completely dissolve when you get buried. Maybe he still does have a little bit of skin, and that skin is black. But when he was alive, I can tell you 100% for a fact that was a black man. Some might say African American. I wouldn't, because they're not from Africa. They're from America. But anyway, and that's what O.J. Simpson was. And he got away with his crime because he's rich and famous, and that's the reason Brad Pitt got away with his crime. It's just look at the NFL. Every year in the NFL, and I don't know if you guys watch the NFL a whole lot, but not a lot of honkies in there. They're all dudes, but not a whole ton of honkies in that league. And every year, at least 20 of them get away with domestic abuse, and that should reveal the fact to you that I'm sure there's a little bit of racism in the courts of the United States, but the courts of the United States is dictated how the rest of the United States is, and that's by how much money you have, right? It's if you go, depending on what grocery store you go to, it doesn't matter whether you're white or you're black or whatever. It depends on how much money you have, right? Like you go to a shitty fucking Stop and Shop, fucking just shithole grocery store that only has Doritos and Fritos and fucking, canned tuna and stuff. You're going to see people of different colors in there, right? And that's because it's based on money and not so much on race. It is based a little bit on race. I'll give you a little bit of credit there. There's a little bit of, looking at the history of the United States, I'd say there's a little bit of, racial inequality that persists even to this day, but it's really based more so on money. And that's true of the courts as well. Every single fucking Kodak Black did a bunch of fentanyl and killed the guy. I don't know if that's what he did, but he was pardoned by Donald Trump. And it's because he's rich and he's famous. That's why it happened. But anyway, now we're on to an article, and this article is from ice.gov. So once again, I read an article from CNN Politics, might be a little bit biased, and this article from ice.gov might also hold maybe a little bit of bias as well. And so this is ICE arrests one of El Salvador's top 100 most wanted. There's like 50 people in El Salvador, by the way, so I don't even know how they have a top 100. That list contains more people than there is in El Salvador. No one lives in El Salvador, and somehow they're all coming here, and they're all in MS-13, and they're all drug dealers. But this guy was arrested in Omaha, Nebraska. So Omaha, Nebraska, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security Investigations. Jesus Christ, let's fucking shorten that shit. Arrested a high-ranking member of the violent MS-13 gang who was listed among El Salvador's top 100 most wanted fugitives July 9th. The Salvadorian national is a criminal alien wanted in El Salvador for the aggravated homicide of 5 victims, attempted aggravated homicide, deprivation of liberty, and terrorist organization affiliation. Why are they deporting this guy? This guy worked at a fruit stand. This guy worked on a roofing crew. Why are they deporting this guy? This guy did nothing. That's what I would say if I was a lib. Once again, snarky conservative. Hey, you guys want to be snarky libs? I'll be a fucking snarky snarky con, I don't know. Snarky serve, I don't know. But I'm gonna be a little bit racist, and I'm gonna be real snarky. So his associate, Rene Saul Escobar Ochoa, 30, is a criminal alien known MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist also wanted in El Salvador. Escobar Ochoa is accused of giving orders to fellow gang members to commit a variety of crimes, including multiple homicides, extortion, imprisonment, and drug trafficking. Look, shout out Renee though. Renee's a boss bitch, dude. Let's deport the other guy. Obviously, he killed all those people and is a yeah, he's a terrorist. He probably killed those people to cause terror, to sow terror. That's kind of how these gangs and cartels work. They instill terror into people. But let's keep Renee here because it doesn't seem like all they're accusing her of is giving orders. So Renee is a bit of a boss bitch, dude. Let's get Renee into a Silicon Valley startup. Get her into the next Theranos or whatever. Have her run that company until it's invariably shut down because of the fact that it doesn't do any of the things it said it was going to do. And let's keep Renee here because Renee is a boss bitch, and I do think that women deserve more representation, especially in positions of power. Shout out Renee. Renee is a feminist hero. So both individuals were arrested without incident in a targeted enforcement action. They had embedded themselves in the Omaha area. It's they use these fucking terms, right? Like the military, these government organizations, they use these terms like embedded. You mean he lived in a fucking duplex that he was renting? That's what you mean in embedded or by embedded? He was living in a fucking duplex. It's so dumb. Just say he lived in a duplex or whatever, wherever the fuck he lived. These illegal aliens didn't just sneak into our country. They brought with them a legacy of violence, terror, and death, said HSI, Kansas City Special Agent in charge Mark Zito, whose office oversees Omaha. They thought that they could hide in America's heartland, but they were sadly mistaken. Not on our watch. HSI, ICE's enforcement removal operations in the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the ATF, and explosives. Oh, I guess they added that E on there. So I guess it's not the ATF. I guess it's the ATFA, are conducting the investigation. Our ICE officers and agents are protecting your neighborhoods even when you don't know the threat is there. So either support them or get out of the way, concluded Lyons. The investigation is ongoing. There's not going to be an investigation, dude. They're going to deport this guy to El Salvador and he's going to spend the rest of his life in a jail, as he should. But the other chick, Renee Ochoa, let's keep this boss bitch here and have her run a fucking tech startup in Silicon Valley. All right, because that's what we need right here. Everyone, all these fucking tech CEOs, even the fucking, like Peter Thiel, who's a transhumanist and doesn't think that the human race should continue to exist. Even he's a bit of a bitch. He's not coming out and just saying it. Renee would say that shit. Renee would be like, we need to end the human race and shit, man. We need the human race is going to come to an end and AI is going to replace all of us, man. That was a little bit more Dominican than it was Central American, but is what it is. We don't know where Renee's from. They're just deporting everyone to El Salvador. But yeah, that guy, these people are dreamers. Yes, he killed 5 people in El Salvador and tried to kill multiple others, right? But that doesn't mean that when he comes to America, he's going to do the same thing. Dude, people change. And I think Donald Trump will never acknowledge that. And now we're on to our piece of tech news for the day. So Honda successfully launched and landed its own reusable rocket. I didn't even know Honda was doing shit like this, dude. I thought they were just making cars for fucking I just thought they were making used cars. That's seriously what I thought Honda did. I've never seen a new Honda on the road. I've never seen a brand new Honda. I've never seen a Honda roll out of the fucking dealership. I feel like every Honda comes secondhand. And now you're telling me that they're making fucking reusable rockets that can land on their own? I didn't know that, dude. I literally just thought they made used cars. I thought that's what they did. But this is pretty interesting. And I guess it's something they're trying to do with rocket ships now because it's, especially with Starlink and a lot of shit moving to space, right? Like the US doesn't really use spy planes and drones and shit like that anymore, at least for spying. Of course, they use it to kill innocent civilians, but they don't use it for spying so much anymore just because satellites are so much better. And I think that's why they're making these reusable rockets, because I feel like our night sky is just going to be full of fucking satellites in the future, like it or not. So Honda successfully conducted a launch and landing test of an experimental reusable rocket developed by its research and development subsidiary, the company announced this week. It was the first time Honda landed a rocket after it achieved an altitude of 890 feet, according to a press release. The launch took place at a Honda facility in Town, God, that's the most fucking Japanese sounding name ever. And that's where it is. It's in Japan, which the company says has been developing itself as a space town through the joint efforts of public and private sectors, including the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, aka JAXA. Very sick name. You got to give it to Japan there. You know, Japan, their birth rates are declining. Everyone in their country works 80 hours a week, and they're all depressed. But they got some pretty sick names for the shit. I mean, Tokyo, just a very honorable sick name. And JAXA, also a very sick name. The nearly 21-foot tall rocket, weighing over 2,800 pounds at launch, flew for 56.6 seconds before landing within 37 centimeters of the target touchdown point on its four retractable legs that also supported it at liftoff. Honda originally announced its plan to pursue spaceflight in late 2021, and while the company has been private about its progress, it is leveraging technologies previously developed in other fields, including automated driving systems to help create its first reusable rocket. Hey, shout out them. Hey, it's not surprised, dude. You can't be surprised when the Japanese are doing stuff like that. You know, it's almost it's a little bit expected. I'm like I would have been expecting them to do it a little bit earlier. In full transparency, to be fully honest, I would have expected that they were doing it before we did. But hey, they're getting it going. And the rocket's not a big rocket, but that's also expected for Japan. You know, they don't, that's just something about them. I don't know. I expect them to have smaller rockets than everyone else. Shout out to Japan for that one. And then this last one, once again, same with most of the last ones on this list. Brazil vows to match U.S. tariffs after Trump threatens 50% levy. And this is, like I said, it's like most of the other articles that go last when I do these episodes. Brazil, you're not going to do anything, dude. I'm sorry. You guys have Alex Pereira, Alexandra Pantoja. I'm pretty sure he's from Brazil. And not even Charles Oliveira anymore. It's Charles Oliveira's kind of out a little bit. You guys got two guys, and they rule. They're two very sick guys, but they both live in the United States, right? I think Alex Pereira lives in I know he trains in Connecticut, but I'm pretty sure he fucking lives there too. You guys, you're not going to do anything, right? Unless you threaten to stop giving our women BBLs. That would be the real threat there. But it's like, what? You're going to charge us 50% on the shit you import here? What the fuck does Brazil import the United States? Or I guess they're threatening to tax American shit going to Brazil by 50% because Trump is threatening to tax shit that's coming from Brazil to the United States by 50%. So they're going band for band here. And Brazil, they do not got a fat stack, dude. Israel, they're going band for band right now, and Trump has a fucking suitcase full of 100s, and Israel has a deteriorating leather wallet full of $1 bills that are not even fresh $1 bills. They're all old and wrinkly $1 bills, and they're trying to go band for band with Trump right now. So Brazilian President Luis in what the fuck? Inácio Lula da Silva said he is ready to match any tariffs imposed on Brazil by the United States. Lula was responding to Wednesday's threat by his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump to impose a 50% import tax on Brazilian goods from August 1st. In a letter, Trump cited Brazil's treatment of former President Jair Bolsonaro. Okay, so they overthrew Bolsonaro, if you don't know. This guy was kind of like he was a fascist. He was, and it's hard to be a fascist in Brazil, and that's why he wasn't a real fascist. He wasn't a real fascist because he was never able to implement any fascist policies because Brazil is just so generally chaotic, right? Like the cities are super chaotic. The countryside is insanely chaotic, right? Like the Amazon rainforest. You're not going to impose fascist policies on uncontacted tribes in the Brazilian rainforest, right? It's not going to fucking happen. But I guess he tried to be. Why would you want to be the president of Brazil? But anyway, Bolsonaro is currently on trial for allegedly, attempting to stage a coup against Lula after being defeated by him in the 2022 election. Trump referred to Bolsonaro as a highly respected leader throughout the world. This trial should not be taking place, he wrote on Brazil, to immediately end the witch hunt against the former president. He tried to do a coup. This is Trump's support for Bolsonaro does not come as a surprise, as the two men have long been considered allies. The U.S. president had already slammed Brazil for its treatment of Bolsonaro on Monday, comparing it to the legal cases he himself had faced in court or had faced in U.S. courts. Trump, dude, you're digging yourself a hole here. This is a lesson my father taught to me very young. When you're in a hole, stop fucking digging it, dude. Just shut the fuck up, Trump. if you want if you want people to stop calling you a fascist, which I'm sure he doesn't care about because 50% of the country is going to support him no matter what, but if he wants that other 50% to stop calling him a fascist, I would say stop comparing yourself to a fascist, right? Like, it's like me. It's like me being like, don't. It's like me being like, I'm exactly like Hitler, and then being like, why are you guys calling me a Nazi? That's kind of what Trump is doing. It's just very dumb of him. But that's all I've got for today's episode, dude. I switched up on Trump, dude. I never really was on his side, but I was on Trump's side in the sense that I hate libs, right? That's why I was on his side. But Trump isn't conservative. I think that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. Trump isn't conservative. He doesn't have the moral or emotional or mental capacity to be conservative or to be liberal, quite frankly. He doesn't have that the capacity, right? He doesn't have the moral interests required to commit to an ideology. He does not possess that's just not something that's inside of him. And I think that's the big lesson to take away from the day, dude. Israel's just trying to help out Palestine by ending their future suffering. Trump's a dum-dum. He's a Cheeto, all right? All right? So you're a Cheeto. Okay. Should I just do that? Should I just become the next host of a late night show by being like Trump's a Cheeto? Could be the move. Who knows? Who knows? But that's all I've got for today. I hope you guys have a good day, good week, good year, good life. And I'll see you guys. Don't know when I'll see you guys next. Maybe tomorrow. Who knows? But I've already done 3 episodes yeah, 3 episodes this week, so I probably won't be seeing you guys tomorrow unless I have some sort of genius idea, like ranking paintings, like that genius idea I had yesterday. Such a great move by me, but probably won't be seeing you guys again this week. But I hope the rest of your week goes well. Hey, tomorrow's Friday, then we got Saturday and Sunday. I don't really count Sunday as the weekend, though. I do kind of count Friday as part of the weekend. Saturday, to me, is the only true weekend day. But hey, I don't know. Maybe you're going to be partying until Sunday night. Don't know. If you are, hope it goes well for you. Or poorly. Had enough of the partying, dude. I've had enough of of that just general culture. Kind of had enough of it. Just shut the fuck up, dude. But anyway, hope it goes well for you. Have a good day, good week, good year, good life. And I'll see you guys probably on Monday. Peace.